Hello, Stampers. Brenda Hillard here at createwithbrenda.com. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I want to share a fun project with you today using the Jar of Flowers bundle from our annual catalog. Couple of items of business. Each month I do offer a host code. Here is the July host code. Any and all orders placed online, please use the host code, provided that your order is, the products in your order prior to tax and shipping are under $99. If your order is over $99, I would like to talk to you about joining my team. And if your order is over $150, then please do not use the host code. Just place your own orders. You will be eligible for some Stampin' rewards from Stampin' Up! But you will also receive from me any product order, minimum product order of $50. This month I will send you absolutely free for ordering with me the Dandelions 3D embossing folder. This is like I said, a 3D embossing folder, so it's the thicker. And you're probably asking, why are you giving me a embossing folder when you don't even have the die cutting or the embossing machine? Well, good news, people. Another reason to join my team is next month, August 1st, as a demonstrator, you will be able to order the standard size, all new. It's called the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And the standard size, and there's also going to be a mini. Now, the mini is not released and there is not an order date set. But as a demonstrator, pre-order for the standard die cutting and embossing machine starts August 1st. So don't delay. Contact me if you need help or if you've thought about joining and just are not sure how, why, when, what it involves. The one thing I always like to emphasize with joining Stampin' Up! Is you can join and be a hobby demonstrator and use it simply for the discount. It's not, running a Stampin' Up! Business is not for everybody. But if it is, I'd be happy to help you in any way I can or provide you with the resources to help. So let's get on to our project today. The project I'm going to show you, like, when you look at this, it's like, well, how do you do that? Here's how. You'll need the Jar of Flowers you need the Jar of Flowers stamp set. This is a beautiful 9-piece photopolymer stamp set. Photopolymer means that the stamps are clear. You can see through them, and it makes stamp placement on your projects very easy. So there's the stamp set. The one thing I do want you to know is there is a jar punch that is adorable. And when you punch out your jar, it looks like this. So you can use it for many things. And by purchasing these two together as a bundle, you will save 10%. So be sure when you're looking through your catalogs or looking online that you look to see if it's a bundle, and if it is, there's a special order number in a little box on that page that saves you 10% when you buy both. So there's that. There's the bundle. The other tool that I want to share with you again today, and this is not new, but I sometimes think it's forgotten, is our exclusive to Stampin' Up! Stamparatus. As what this does is, so this card that I am sharing was part of a flower themed swap that I joined. And a swap is where you trade cards with other crafters. And this particular card, I needed to make 14 cards. Well, that's where the Stamparatus comes in really, really nice is when you're doing multiple cards, and I'm going to demonstrate it for you. And then the other nice thing about the Stamparatus is if you're one of those people who, whatever you stamp, you just can't seem to stamp straight, it always ends up at an angle, and that wasn't your intention, the Stamparatus is great for helping get those sentiments or placement of stamps lined up just like you like them. So let me show you how this works. The Stamparatus comes with this base, and these are hinged edges on two sides. So what happens is you get these clear acrylic plates, which I already have a stamp on this one, but at a 90-degree angle, you can put that into the top grid, and then you can ink it up and stamp it down. And if you don't get a good impression, you just ink it up again and stamp it again, because it's in the exact same place every time. So let me demonstrate. First of all, let me give you the card pieces that we're going to be using, the measurements, and then we'll start stamping using the Stamparatus, okay? Seeing it in action is always best. So here's what we're going to need for our project. Here's our card. You're going to need, and I used Rococo Rose. I really like the combination of Rococo Rose, the So Saffron, and Soft Suede. You'll need a piece 8.5 by 5 1/4, scored at 4 1/4 for a regular A2 size card, okay? And you always want to get your edges nice and straight, and then using your bone folder, you just crease so you get a really nice edge. So there's our card base, okay? You'll need 2 pieces cut at 4 1/4 by 5 inches. So Saffron, Whisper White. And what the Whisper White is for is that's going to be the liner for inside of our card, okay? Next, you'll need a piece of soft suede or contrasting, coordinating, I guess would be a better word, whichever colors you choose. I chose So Saffron. It measures 4 1/8 by 3 1/8. And then you'll need a piece of Whisper White, which measures 3 inches by 4 inches. Okay, so let's put our pieces aside except for the So Saffron. I'm going to bring the Stamparatus back in, and you'll see I have these little marks on here, and what I have is that just shows me that I want to be inside of that area. And the grid paper is awesome with the Stamparatus, so I'm just going to line that up on the grids inside of my corner. Then when you take these plates out, you want them 90 degrees, and then you lift up, okay? I'm going to lay this down like this for right now, just for inking purposes and to keep it in my camera. I'm going to take the crushed curry, and I'm just going to ink up my stamp, and I'm using the, this is really pretty. It's the Birch background stamp. I'm kind of excited about this for Christmas, but anyway, so I'm going to ink up that Birch background stamp using crushed curry. Then I'm going to put this back in at 90 degrees. I'm going to lay it down, just kind of rub it through so the whole stamp makes contact with my So Saffron cardstock. And there it is. I get the birch background. How pretty is that? Okay, so then I can just leave that there, and I can bring in, and again, it comes with 2 plates. So what I've done is I've matched up where I want my stamp, and I'm just going to put that right here. And there's two super magnets that come, and when you use smaller pieces like this, it's really nice to just kind of put the magnets down to hold your cardstock in place before you stamp. And again, I'm just going to take this out, and this is just for video purposes so it stays in the camera. But I'm going to take my black, Tuxedo Black Memento ink, and I'm going to ink up my stamp. Okay, 90 degrees, back into the Stamparatus, and I can just, again, massage it down, and there's my image. Now, if that wouldn't have inked up like I wanted it to, I can just re-ink my stamp like that. I just had a little bit that I got on the acrylic, so I'm going to take that off. I can bring it back in, and I can press, and it's in the exact same spot. So this is really, really a nice tool, and I just wanted to bring it back in and share. So now let's say, like I said, I was making 20 of them. So all I do is bring another piece in, I just line it up there, ink it up, and I can come right back across, and it's in the same place, and I just, all 20 pieces over and over and over, and it makes it very quick. So with Christmas or the holidays season coming up, maybe you don't celebrate Christmas, maybe it's Hanukkah for you, maybe it's nothing, maybe it's just the holidays, but you're going to send cards out to multiple people. This tool is really indispensable. So let me just put that aside. And again, if you have any questions about this tool, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer your questions, or happy to get you set up with your own. So now the next part of this is I took, just a plain, whoops, that's not the one I wanted. You don't want my notes. I took just a plain Post-it note, and I stamped the flower bouquet on a Post-it note, and then I didn't have to cut the whole thing out, but I just cut around the bottom edges, and you can see this is a well-used mask. But is what I did here, and I'll zoom just a little bit so that you can see. I just laid that right over my stamped image, okay? And then I took the jar stamp, and I'm going to ink that up with Memento, the Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And I just want the jar to be over the base of the flowers, because you can see then how that brings the flowers forward and your jar back, okay? All right, so next I took the Tuxedo Black, again, I don't know why I keep closing that, but I do, and I just inked up the stems for the flowers, and I'm just going to put those right up here by the flowers, so we have our stems. And the last thing, well, we'll do that later. All right, so now I can save this mask, and I can use it over and over and over. I just store it in my stamp case with my stamps, and it's ready to go. I am going to bring in the Pool Party ink, and is what I'm going to do with Pool Party is just give a little bit of color, like water, to our jar. And is how I'm going to do that is these stamps are reversible. So I'm going to put the textured side of the stamp against the block, like that. I'm going to put the solid back of the stamp onto the ink pad. I do want to just bring in a scrap of cardstock, and I'm going to stamp off because I don't want it that dark. I just want that tint. And because these are photopolymer, you can see through them. And so I can see exactly where I'm placing that. And it just gives us that little tint of water in the jar. Okay? All right. So next I'm going to bring in our Stampin' Blend alcohol markers. These come in combo packs. Each color has a light shade and a dark shade. So I'm going to use the Daffodil Delight, the Old Olive, and the Rococo Rose to color in my flowers, okay? So first of all, I'm going to take the Old Olive, and there's two tips. There's a paintbrush tip, and there's I call it a bullet tip, or a small compact. I'm going to take that, and I'm just going to quickly color in my flower stems to give them that real bouquet or flower appearance. And the nice part about these alcohol markers, and I'll show you here in a minute on the flowers, they blend beautifully. There's no color lines like with a Stampin' Write marker or even with colored pencils. So there's our stems. And there's multiple ways of coloring with the Stampin' Blends. Some people go dark to light. Some people go light to dark. I personally like to do light to dark. So I'm going to take the fat end of my marker, and you don't want to go tip down on these. You want to use the sides of your marker. And what I'm going to do is just color in quickly. And you guys, it's a good idea to let your ink dry, so the black ink dry a little bit before you start coloring. And of course, I double stamped this, showing you the stamparatus. But you can see it still stays where it should. And then I'm just going to give these little roses up here a color. And we'll let that dry. But I'll bring in the light Rococo, and I'm just going to color one there. And you can see I got my stems a little high on that one, but that's okay. And I'm not going to do this whole thing, but I just wanted you to see a little demonstration of how nice these really do blend together. The one thing I do want to point out with this is you do want to have something down behind your cardstock when you're coloring with the alcohol markers, because, and it's the intention of how these work, but you can see it bleeds through on the back. So you want to make sure that you have something down so that it doesn't get onto your work surface. Okay, so now just to share how the shading works on these, I'm going to bring in the dark Daffodil Delight. And when you think about how flowers look, you know how they're always like dark in the center. So I'm going to give it some color in the center. And then like this petal would have shading. It would be dark there. It would be darker like at the bottoms of the leaves. And so I'm going to leave it like that. And then I'm going to bring the light marker back in to just go in and kind of blend. So now I'm going to do these too for the effect. I'm just going to color up at the top, like the center. And then I'm going to give that outside edge just a little bit of color. And those I don't even think I have to blend. Now, it's not drastic, but when it dries, it is drastic. You get a definite depth, dimension, or shading with your flowers. So these are really, really fun, and they're really fun to just experiment with and practice with. Do not expect perfection in the beginning, because there is a little bit of a learning curve with these, but super fun. And they give you just the most beautiful colored images, your outline images. All right, let's continue on here. I'm not going to finish coloring just to save you time on the video. So is what I want to do now with this piece is I'm going to take our new Stampin' Seal. And if you haven't used this yet, one thing I can tell you is every once in a while you have to give it a little start to get the adhesive down to the point, just enough to move those gears just a little bit. But when you use it, our old snail, you used to try to keep it flat and run it across. This one, you really want to keep it tipped up and run it. And it's so quiet. We're used to the click, click, click of the old snail. This one's very quiet. Now we're going to adhere this layer onto our 4 1/8 by 3 1/8. And is what we want is just a really like a 1/16 of an inch mat around this card. And is what that's going to do is it's just going to make it pop on our So Saffron Birch stamped background. Okay, so I'm going to take this, and using our linen thread, and I found this to be easiest, like I said, doing 20 of these. I start with just hold my tail over here between my little finger and my thumb. I'm going to wrap it twice, and then when I come up to the center, I'm going to tie a knot. Okay, so there's my double wrapped twine. And then with the tail, and now that it's in a knot, I'm just going to tie a bow. All right, so there. And you can just pull the tails to adjust your loops. But there's our little linen bow. And I'm going to snip using our paper snips. If you don't have these, they're awesome. They stay sharp, and they're really good for detail cutting. All right, then from here, I'm going to take some of our Stampin' Dimensionals. These are two-sided, sticky little, I guess they're, I don't know, I guess they're octagons. Anyway, I'm going to do this. I live in Minnesota with very high humidity, so I really give some extra dimensionals to my projects so they don't sag. And from there, I'm just going to put that right onto our birch stamped background piece. I'm going to bring in our card base, the Rococo Rose, and then I'm just going to add some of our Stampin' Seal to, whoops, I can't have that underneath, I guess. There it goes. Give it a little in the middle. And then we're just going to center that onto our Rococo Rose. Okay? Liking it so far? If you do like my videos, please give me a thumbs up, and I love comments. So if there's something that you'd like to see, I would love to hear from you, and I'd give it a try. So on our original card here is what I did is this little hello there tag. There's a stamp set in our annual catalog right now called Here's a Card, and there's lots of great sentiments in this stamp set, 14 to be exact, and I just used this little teeny tiny hello there. So as what I did was brought I'll just bring in a scrap of crumb cake, and again, the Tuxedo Black Memento ink. I'm going to ink up my stamp, tap, 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 and then straight down. I like to count to 3, 1, 2, 3, giving the ink time to absorb into our paper. And then to get this cute little tag shape, I happen to have the Ornate Frames dies, and I just used this die to cut it out. Remember, we have a brand new die cutting embossing machine coming next month as a demonstrator. So as what I did is I just ran that through, putting the hello up towards the tag edge because it was a little bit long. So I just took my snips and just cut it down, and using I'm to the end of my roll, but using a glue dot, I just added a glue dot onto my tag, and then slid it up underneath my bow. Oops. You know what? I did that the first time too. I really should have cut it out the other way. It's okay. I'm just going to put it this way so that my sentiment, I'll show you what I mean. So on this one, I stamped the hello going this way on the tag so that when you look at it, you can read it. Okay, so this one I didn't stamp that way, but that's all right. I'll just put the tag that way. I'll finish my coloring, and there's our card. The other thing too with using a Rococo Rose card base, the inside of our card is colored, and I like having a white or a very vanilla writing surface inside my cards. So it's what I did, and I learned this from Kay Kaltoff. I just put a little bit of adhesive at the top and then center it on the inside of my card, because then you get like the fancy cards that you buy with the parchment or whatever, but it also saves adhesive because you really don't need to secure that. It's not going to go anywhere, so it's good to just leave it loose and save some adhesive for the next project. So there's my project, the Jar of Flowers card. Again, subscribe down below, and then you'll get notifications of each of my videos. I try to do 1 video a week, so it's not like you'll be overwhelmed. And again, if you've thought about joining Stampin' Up, I would love to have you on my team. Just reach out to me. Have a great day, everybody. See you next time.